It's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Cherie Penske. She's the founder of Armor Dental Corp, a dental product development company and manufacturer that she started in 2016. She's a seasoned entrepreneur for 20 years, also founded LP Group, a consulting firm in 2000, which provides strategic communications, counseling, and services to leading businesses and organizations, including Fortune 500 companies and smaller public and private companies. Her company represented clients across healthcare, education, mobile, gaming, entertainment, licensing, and investor relations sector. LP Group was sold in 2015. She holds 5 utility patents, both domestically and internationally. She recently co-founded Armor Respiration, Inc., a company dedicated to improving respiratory health and wellness. And that is when last week my buddy Fred Joyal, who's been on the show before and has online CE courses, he called me up and said, I want to do a show. He wants to bring Cherie on the show. So Fred's on the show with her. Where are you, Fred? You got to say something to be on the screen. Just say boo.
I am in Los Angeles. So yes, I am visible to everyone. So.
He is, that's the new Zoom feature. That's why we switched from Skype to Zoom because, my God, it's gone public. They got money. They're doing all kinds of exciting things. Plus, Microsoft bought Skype, which means it'll just be a bottom feeder filled with viruses. I mean, it's so insane that Bill Gates is leading viruses because he's been making software filled with viruses for 30 years. I mean, every time I bought $300 worth of software from that guy, I had to hire 5 programmers to work all the kinks out of it. Fred Joyal is a prominent speaker and author focusing on remarkable customer service. Recently retired, Fred was the co-founder of Futuredontics, the parent company of 1-800-Dentist, which just celebrated its 32nd year in business. He is the author of 2 books, which I made all 4 of my boys read. Everything is Marketing, the Ultimate Strategy for Dental Practice Growth, published in 2010, and Becoming Remarkable, How to Create a Dental Practice Everyone Talks About, published in 2015. And my boys now, they're all owner-operators of the oldest 2 own a company. They all work for themselves. And my God, Fred, I remember pulling up to your house when I don't think any of them was 3 feet tall. I mean, you've been
they were a young tribe then, yes.
Oh, my God. You were such a huge mentor for them. I'll always be grateful to you of how you really, really made an impact on my kids. So you flew down here to tell me what you're so excited about.
Well, once I stepped away from 800-Dentist a couple of years ago, I'm not a retiring type, but I was looking for something that had a lot of purpose and would have a significant amount of impact and also be fun people to work with, and make money. But mostly it was about, I wanted to have something with impact. And I looked at all sorts of different things. And then suddenly right around February or March, Cherie came to me and told me about this new company she was starting. And I went, oh my gosh, it's found me. This thing of great impact has found me, because what she has developed is a solution to the breathing problem, the mask problem that came to a head and continues right now during COVID. She has developed a mask that she calls Clara, which is an air filtration system that solves all sorts of problems, is comfortable to wear. The person is visible who's wearing it. We want to give you a lot of detail on the technology, but I've become very passionate about it because I'm talking to dentists all the time who say, look, I can't take the N95s anymore. My team is getting headaches. They're getting dizzy. They're calling in sick. I'm getting memory loss. I'm impaired wearing all of this PPE. So this solution that we've developed, this is actually,
is this the MouthMate or the ScanMate?
No, MouthMate is something else that Cherie developed before this. She was in the dental field. She had that's another show, which would be really interesting to do. But this thing, because she's been involved in dentistry and manufacturing, her engineer actually developed this new air filtration and respirator system. And
Would it still be on the same site as the mouthmate, the Armor slash
no,
dental.com?
it's on its own website, breatheclara.com.
breatheclara.com?
Yeah.
And adding to that, my engineer, her husband was suffering and recovering from cancer. And Howard, he, she wanted to develop something that was protective for him. And she's been my engineer for 6 years and showed it to me. And I said, wow, that's an interesting idea. So around February timing, I pulled together my husband, my engineer, my regulatory. I called Fred, who was really my first friend in dentistry a little over 6 years ago. And I trust him. I always say he's my first friend in dentistry. And so brought him right on board. And we've been, over the last 6 months, almost 6 months now, Howard, really working together daily on bringing Clara. And we are launching it officially at Western Perio Society coming up this weekend. So we're really proud of it and look forward to telling you more about the unique cross ventilation to the mask.
And where's that meeting at?
Scottsdale, believe it or not.
Yeah, I thought he always comes. So it's I'm still trying to find the website.
Howard, use Clara Mask, CLARAMASK.com.
But just tomorrow, we really wanted something that was more of our messaging. So Breathe Clara will be the new URL.
Yeah.
But for
we're flipping it over as we speak, right?
So it's claramask.com right now, but that's going to change real quick.
Right. Once this broadcast is out, it'll be the other website. Clara Mask will still go to it. It'll redirect to it. But.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's really more than a mask, and we'll get into that in a minute, but it's more of a respirator, and it's a wearable device that improves your breathing. So we thought Breathe Clara was more defining than Clara Mask.
Right on. So this was so tell us how long have you known Fred?
So that's a great quick story. I started out in dentistry when I was 14 years old. I was a dental assistant, and I worked all the way up through assisting through college and was going to be a dentist, and went in a different direction and started a PR firm instead. But I, interestingly enough, got back into dentistry when my daughter had her tooth removed and she couldn't really brush around an area. So MouthMate was my first invention, that followed by ScanMate. So I've been in dentistry for a little while, from my first stint as a dental assistant, but also now as a CEO of Armor Dental. I met Fred literally, Howard, I didn't even know what a Patterson or a Henry Schein or a Benko stood for at all. And I was walking around Hinman and walked into Patterson, and there was a guy signing a book, and he looked nice. And I started talking to him, and we jokingly, when we lecture together or when Fred and I do interviews, I do call him my first friend, and he's my confidant. I trust him a lot, immensely. And so that's how we got to know each other. So Fred and I have been friends for a long time. And whenever I've kind of made a big business move, or when I got my first patent, I called my husband and my mom and called up Fred and said, Fred, I got my first patent. So he's been really good to me over the years and very special to me.
And it's so hard to get a patent. I mean, kudos to you for getting a patent, because all the people, everybody always says they're going to take their lawsuit all the way to the Supreme Court. No, you're not. They hear 100 cases a year out of several million filed, and you're not going to get a patent either. And you got 5 patents?
I do. I have 2 in the U.S., 1 in China, 1 in Japan, and the EU just came in over the summer. So it's been amazing. I mean, I invented this bendable handle that is used for retraction for when you're brushing your teeth. You can retract after implants or orthodontics. And then it was really interesting. Some of the dentists that were using the product said, oh, can you make this autoclavable? I'd love to use it for scanning. And so my first big deal was last year when I signed an exclusive with CareStream and invented a product called ScanMate. And that was using my patent around a bendable retractor that's non-reflective. And it's been really fun. I mean, at 50, I just turned 50. I never in a million years thought that I would say to you, sit here with you today. I've just been honored by looking up to you in my career. And I'm just so excited to be here. But that led me, I think Armor Dental really allowed me to learn about, as a manufacturer, as a patent owner, regulatory, all the things you need to learn from. Now I feel it's kind of set me up to co-found this new company with this incredible team.
And so, I mean, talk about, that's all everybody's talking about. I mean, this is, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and nobody can predict the future. I mean, anybody who's going to tell you what the stock market's going to do, bonds, the virus, I mean, you might as well, they're just palm readers. Yeah. And they're palm readers on, but religion does, predicts the future. And Wall Street does it with all their charts. And whenever I see them, doing all their chart stuff, I'm embarrassed for the science of business, because I mean, Albert Einstein told you there's no future, so we don't know. There's only the present, and a lot of my friends think that in a 9-inning ball game we're in inning 2. Mm-hmm. And other dentists think that we're in 7, 8, or 9, and
right.
Who knows? But so how do you see this fitting into the pandemic? What's your thoughts on this?
Sure. So first and foremost, Clara was really invented and developed to help. Really was humanity. We wanted to help around the pandemic. My business, all of a sudden, I was an entrepreneur. Building this company. First year, I was actually made money last year. So going into 2020 was this big, exciting year. And all of a sudden, boom, all offices closed. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it was really scary. And so Clara has been kind of our guiding light. And we developed it for the pandemic. But there's really 3 areas that Fred and I really want to get across about Clara. Number one, it really was developed for the pandemic and helping clinicians and their team be fully protected with this respirator. It has a cross ventilation and the mask that I can show you on screen here. So when you're breathing, you inhale and then you're exhaling. That and it's patent pending. That has a cross ventilation. It has a clear mask and a voice port, so you can actually see and hear, the patient can hear you speaking. So this was designed for the pandemic. But what we're finding, Howard and Fred, you can chime in. What's so interesting about it, Howard, is we've been testing it now with over about 100 dentists and doctors and nurses and hygienists. Michelle Strange and Deb Carrier, all these incredible supportive people that they've been telling us their issues around breathing quality with the current masks that are available. So not only is Clara designed for protection, but I think our biggest opportunity is really around the improving and radically changing how our professionals are breathing day to day, not just COVID. So to answer your question, I see this as a COVID product, but secondarily, I see it for really disrupting, breathing. And third, our clinicians in dentistry are telling us we're doing laser procedures, we're doing, we're making dentures. We need more protection around some of those hazards. So I think there's kind of 3 tiers to this. This is definitely not a COVID pitch. It's more of a long-term solution to respiratory health.
Huh, that is exciting. And I see you have Bobby Stanley on your board. Yes. She's a guest of the show. She's an amazing person.
Yes.
You got a hell of a team.
Thank you.
Is Fred the weakest player on your team?
So think about how strong a team would have to be for that to be true, though.
No. It's one of those trust things. There's a lot of trust there. So we don't really move a lot unless we say, Fred, what do you think of this? But Bobby and Robert, we just shot, Fred, as you know, we just shot an incredible video that is on our site. That you can see. And they, what I love about Bobby and Robert, as you know, Howard, they're not yes people, even though they're incredible people. Like, they opened up their doors to us. We stayed with them. Fred and I stayed at their house for 4 days. We drank wine together and ate dinner together. They opened up their entire office that we worked with Clara and showed all their staff. And so, but at the end of the day, you'll see what Robert says and Bobby on that testimonial. And it's really telling, because they're not yes people, meaning they don't just tell you what you want to hear. And so bringing them on board as advisors to us was really critical, because they're not just going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you really what needs to be done and evolve this product to be life-changing for everybody.
Well, Fred, I meant that seriously. The smartest business people in the world always want to be the dumbest person in the room. Why would you want to hire people? Seriously, I'm no less. When I opened up my dental office, I graduated May 11, 1987, had opened September. I felt bad because I was running all these help wanted ads for hygienist assistants, whatever. And I felt bad because I couldn't be honest in the interview, because I couldn't say wanted, the oldest hygienist looking for a job in Phoenix. But all these young people would come and do the interview, and I knew that, and I ended up hiring, I think her name was Cherie. I think she had to be 55 or something like that. But I hired older people that had been around the block of dentistry 30 years, and it made it so easy. So is David Lipinski, Cherie, your wife? Cherie, is that David your husband or brother? Or
so that's a good story. He's my husband, David Lipinski, and he is, heading up this company. He has about 25 years in healthcare and life sciences and AI. So like Fred, David founded a company years ago, sold it about 15 years ago, and has been working for different companies over the last 15 years. But really was kind of looking for his next big thing. And he saw his wife, building a company, and he's like, when's it going to be when am I going to find my next thing? And so this was it. So Fred, David, and I are just so tickled about this because we all feel this is our special next big thing. So he's on board. He's actually just in the other room. So he says hello.
Yeah, and we keep finding situations where we realize how much impact that we can have with this. Certainly in the dental arena, but in nursing homes. A good friend of mine, she tells me, her dad was put in a nursing home and he has somewhat dementia at this point. She hasn't seen him in 4 months because she can't go in and see him. He's sitting and has no idea. They can't explain to him why his daughter doesn't show up every day. He doesn't remember it. This breaks my heart. And all she needs is to put on a Clara and she'll be able to go in there. Not to mention in California, 40% of the fatalities from COVID are nursing home related. So, we look at what we're doing is critical to get this mask out there, which is why, in the beginning of August, we're going to be shipping this thing. We've been doing everything we can to get this model out to people because it's going to change how they function and work. We're talking to people who are, the CO2 buildup is having such an impact on their productivity. We even talked to a dentist who she said, I've never been depressed in my life. And she said, I started contemplating suicide out of the blue.
Right.
She said, and then because she had enough medical background, she went like, wait a minute, I'm not a depressive person at all. This is chemical. And she realized it. But imagine if you didn't know that and you were it just sort of overwhelmed you. So
and Howard, she only knew she was in trouble. She didn't even feel it, as Fred was saying. One day, she's practices in Petaluma, California, and one day at the end of the day, her dental assistant was taking her pulse, and she said, "Oh, let me take my pulse," and it was 150. And so she couldn't believe it. She went to another room, took it again. It was 150. Went home to her husband. After a couple glasses of wine, about 4 hours later, she was calm. But then a few days later, she felt this wave of depression. She's now fine, but there's something about that oxygen, that CO2 buildup that we're trying to solve for, and understanding that more with Clara.
So you guys have both been around the block 100 times. Is this a highly regulated industry? Because the healthcare community is as serious as a heart attack. They're going to want to know, how is this compared to an N95 level, 3M, all this stuff. So tell us about that side of the journey. How did you?
Sure.
So you designed the idea and then you made a prototype.
Well, we go through stages of regulatory with the FDA. Because of COVID, they have emergency authorized use for masks. So we are releasing it as a mask. Once we have production models, we go through NIOSH certification. NIOSH will only certify when you have the actual production models. We have started the whole 510K process, or whatever it is, 510 something with the FDA. But that's a longer process, but we're allowed to offer the mask to practices, and dentists can wear them. We'll eventually have full FDA approval and NIOSH approval, but those are stages.
But right now, can you make any claims for it?
Oh, yeah. Yep. We're doing a whole bunch of testing on CO2 and oxygen sensing and all that. So we are going to be issuing that on our website, all those types of results, because, at the end of the day, the FDA has approved us to launch as a mask, Howard, but we're also in parallel. By about early October, we're going to get the NIOSH approval so we can sell to hospitals. Dental offices we can sell to, and we encourage to dental offices to do fit testing like you would a respirator. But right now we're authorized to sell it as a mask. But in early October, we can talk about it as a respirator. So we're following every regulatory step. We already have a reviewer at the FDA that has been assigned to us, and Dr. Cherie Moore. So we're really, our head of regulatory has been in regulatory for 30 years. So we're following every single step to get it to market.
So whose idea was it?
So it really originated with our engineer, one of our co-founders, Lisa Fitzgerald. Her husband, as I mentioned, has cancer. And so she was worried when COVID was starting to hit. let me invent something. And so it was really a very early, she was using a CPAP mask and this kind of box, this plastic. And I looked at it and I said, well, that's a flipping great idea. And so as an entrepreneur, we took it to the next level. So the mask you just saw, Howard, here, this is the inside of it is a silicone gasket that really allows that to get that great seal and fit testing. They have this really interesting ratchet system right here. You can hear me moving it. So when you put it on your face, you have a seal, but then you can customize the fit. So it really seals in nicely by just moving these like this. And then the voice port, as I said, you can talk to your patients, cross ventilation. But then after that, Howard, you saw on our website, the wearable unit is right here. This is Clara. We really wanted to, this is what you wear. It's 5 ounces. It's a let me open it here for you. 1 second.
So this is, just so you know, this is naturally.
But that girl, was that girl who wanted to make it, who had the need for it, was that Lisa Fitzgerald?
Yeah, so Lisa Fitzgerald is our head of engineering. So she, she invented it, she engineered it, and she assigned the patent to our company. So I just wanted to show you the inside of it, Howard, is really the beauty of it. This is a HEPA filter right there. And so once a month, the user changes that. So this attaches, it's only 5 ounces. This attaches, it's not a papper. I want you to understand that. It's not something that has any battery. It's not heavy. It's only 5 ounces. So this attaches to your arm, to the back here, or to your belt clip. And then you have the hose, which is only 1 inch hose that is connected here. And the hose, as many of our clinicians have said, is really your lifeline. That is really why the breathing experience is so different from other masks.
So Lisa's the one who needed this, and she made a prototype, and you're making it. Who do you think is your target market? I mean, who's your most target market in dentistry, especially in dentistry?
So in dentistry, gosh, I would say, Fred, you can chime in here. This is what's special about it. Whenever we show this to a clinician, there's never a time where a clinician says, you know what, I'm gonna try one, Howard. Why don't you send me one? They say, it just happened earlier today on our website, send me 10. Send me 10. I want it for my dental assistant.
Anybody that's chair side, they're saying they want it. And I also look at it from a marketing standpoint, Howard. The design of this device is it cleans the air that you breathe in and the air that you breathe out. Exactly. So the patient is protected too. So now the practice can say to the patient, we have a mask with an airtight seal and HEPA filters cleaning the air that we exhale into the room as well as what we inhale. So you're more protected here than home. Pretty much. And that to me is, I think we're going to see this shift we're already seeing it. Actually, this is one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is we're seeing a migration of patients towards practice who are doing safety protocols that make them feel like the practice is safe. They're leaving their dentist because they go like, this place doesn't feel safe at all. And they start looking for dentists who are going to a higher level of systems and protocols for patient safety and cleanliness and sanitization. So I see this as a value in attracting patients and keeping dental practices from ever having to close again, ever for any regulatory body, state or federal, saying dentists should close.
Yeah.
Like they did here.
Let's talk logistics and price. How much is it, and how often do you if you buy one, how long do you use it versus what a dentist is paying for PPE now?
Yeah, I love that you asked that question. So if the Clara with the dual exhaust, if you want to protect yourself and the patient, is $429 at retail. $429.
$429.
Yeah.
And then
and then the single exhaust, if you're just wearing one hose and you're protecting just yourself, that's $329, Howard. Compared to a PAPR and all those, there's more like $1,000 or $1,200. So we're trying to make this affordable for the entire dental team. As a former dental assistant, I really want to take care of the dental team in addition, of course, to the dentist. The other thing that you asked about was really critical, and I'm glad you asked. So we have a DSO. We can't mention them, but they're 120 office.
Well, Cherie, let's talk before we talk about that. Let's talk about how long the product lasts. Right?
Okay.
Because the mask lasts at least a year. The dentist may want to have a backup on hand. The filter case would last several years, and the filters are changed every month. We recommend a subscription where everybody just changes their filters once a month.
Right.
And how much is the filter? How much is the filter?
$12 a piece. So
$12.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but part of what we're seeing is we're not generating the massive amount of hazardous waste by this product because it is reusable. You just wash it and reuse it day after day for a year. So
what do you think
2 years,
the average dentist is paying for PPE per person, the substitute? So here's a one-time cost of $429, but what do you think the dentist is paying for PPE?
Well, we heard a huge example, which is a practice that had a group practice with over 100 practices. They brought their CFO in and they said, look, we're about to buy $500,000 of Claras from you. So we wanted to see how that would offset the use of disposables. So our conservative estimate is it'll save us in just the first year $1.5 million of PPE.
So he was gonna buy
on the deal.
He was gonna buy $500,000 of the Clara mask, and he thought it would save him $1.5 million.
Yeah.
In 1 year.
Yep. He said after he spent 500, he estimated around 1.5 conservatively. And when we had lunch with him recently, he said, I think it's more like 2 to 2.5 million. So that was a big eye opener. We've been talking a lot about the sustainability and not having to worry about PPE and not having PPE, but about the biohazards for hospitals or dentistry and not having to buy masks and the shields over and over again. We think we're onto something with helping, cut down on cost and all the throwaways into the landfill. Plus, it's a better product.
I mean that. So for every dollar invested, you'll get your dollar back in 3 more. I mean that's incredible.
Yeah.
And so has he started that test yet? Where he's gonna?
He's starting October 1st. We'll get our first shipments in like mid to late September, and we're starting to ship to our distributors in about first week in October.
Well, congratulations! But you guys, the Clara dual port kit is the one you recommend for you and your patient. And the single port kit.
If you're non-medical, you may use the single port, but anywhere where you want to protect the other person in the room, and that's pretty much is all of healthcare, you're going to want the dual. If we're going to be working with food processing plants as well, if everybody on the line is wearing the single port, everybody's protected. Right. So, but there's no patient except the cow who unfortunately showed up there. But
the slaughterhouses are. You said 1/4 of the cases are in nursing homes. I grew up in Wichita with MBPXL and all those meatpacking plants. It's hell in there too.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Chicken and Foster's Farms closed here in California because of it. Just 3 times the percentage of deaths and like 368 positive cases. It was like 2/3 of the workforce or some insane number. Yeah, so we're reaching out to them as well because these are people at risk to make a living at not a high wage, but their employer needs to protect them.
Yeah. So. And that's another, we have a pilot with a chicken plant up in Pennsylvania starting in the next month. And so they're really excited about, protecting their employees. And when they go home, the idea is to have them take their Claras home because they come right on the plant. They have to have their mask right on in the car, believe it or not. So I think to answer your question earlier, I think dentistry is because of our contacts. We chose as a company, I said to my husband as he's leading this, I said, we only have 10,000 units available in September. So we're like, let's give this to dentistry. We have 28,000 in October. Let's get our dealers all set up, and then we'll start issuing the other units as we get into November, December. But dentistry was really because our heart is in dentistry. We wanted to give this special product to the dealers and the dentists that are friends of ours that we've known for so long and say, listen, we want to help you out and help your team out.
So are you going to choose a business model of selling direct? Right now it's on claramask.com, but you said when this, you said that it's going to go to Breathe Easy?
Breathe Clara.
Breathe Clara.
BreatheClara.com?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is your business model going to be? Is it going to be selling direct on the websites, or are you going to go through?
It'll be a combination of the two. There are distributors that want it, but we want dentists to be able to buy it directly. We want some people on the street as well. So some of the distributors have offered to say, look, we'll put our teams, our field representatives with Clara, go walk right into the office with it on to be able to talk to the practice and say, look, this is a real solution here. So it's going to be a combination of direct and using distributor relationships.
Right.
But that's not something they do, though. I mean, usually, you we're down here talking to Samir. I mean, look at the old day where they wanted to deal with Patterson, who had an exclusive on the CERAC machine.
They've outgrown the whole. They've learned that they don't get exclusivity anymore, which is interesting. And I'm glad of it, because we wouldn't want to give it to them. We would never give exclusivity to a single distributor, just because we don't want to constrain access. We want this out to every dentist and team member who wants it.
You mean Patterson learned it? Patterson learned not to do an exclusive?
I think they all did. I think they all learned that they can't pull that off as easily as they used to.
Yeah, and I noticed with ADEC chairs, he had an exclusive with Patterson, and it wasn't until Ken and Joanne passed on that they quit that. But so then the other side of that, usually they want an exclusive. Are you also going to sell it on Amazon? I mean, instead of just your website, will it be on Jeff Bezos' site?
Yeah, I think we're going to hold off on that right now. I think that
they take a big cut, Amazon.
I wanted to add something important. I think that we all know the dealers really well. Many of my, the executives at the dealers. We are, we want to hold this a little bit tight, Howard, and learn from it a bit. And so it's important to us to listen to the customers. And we also have only a very certain amount of units available in September and October. So we've told all the dealers, like, how many do you want? We want to launch with you, but we really want to work with you. We don't want to just have this in a catalog. We want to, we want to give this to as many offices as we can and explain the special features of this product versus just kind of, selling it in a box. So
we don't want 20,000 units sitting in a warehouse.
Right. Right.
So where are they made at?
Oh, that's a great question. So we're really proud of that. Everything is made in Massachusetts. So even the HEPA filter is made in Massachusetts.
And you can't tell me the 100 the DSO with 100 locations that's going to do that, or checking it out?
I don't know. I guess we could. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Fred, you're the expert on that.
Oh, come on, Fred. We're the only 3 people listening to this show. I can assure you.
Nobody downloads this podcast at all. I feel very safe revealing off the record information.
So who is it?
It's Elite.
Elite.
Yeah.
And
don't keep saying it, right? Once. We can only say it once.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll bleep it out.
So Dr. Adam Burr, and I don't think he'd mind us saying this. He, saw Clara early. Dr. Jim Arnold is also one of our advisors within the company, and he knows Adam. He introduced us a couple of months ago, and we've been, talking to him on Zoom calls. And then Fred and I flew in to see him in Utah, where he lives, and he really believes in this respiratory issue with his offices. So he's rolling the pilot out. He's our first rollout coming up right when he gets it in late September.
Yeah, the first units off the line go straight to him. So
yeah,
because there's we've all been in this game a very long time, and it has to make dollars and cents, because the dentist, if it doesn't make sense, I mean, they learn this all along. I mean, 95% of the dentists take Delta, and they tell you your fees. So 95% of dentists are on a PPO. And and I always tell people that if they have an idea that makes economical sense, then go to the DSOs, because they got a scale of management that's full-time accounting. They know their numbers. They have their own software. But if it's the five fingers are faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, smaller.
Yeah.
But if it's higher cost and it violates three or four of the fingers, then you got to go sell it to the the special.
No, you're right, because I certainly have, and as well as Cherie, relationships with the various DSOs, and they make decisions very differently. Which is good. They run the numbers, like just being able to say, look, I'm going to save $1.5 million on disposable. This is a no-brainer for me and my people. There's another big thing. There's a wave of litigation, workman's comp things that are coming your way. You heard about the law in New York, right? That basically anybody who comes down with COVID, they're actually going to say it originated at their workplace because they want to put it onto workman's comp as an expense. There are going to be people who have CO2 impairment issues that are going to blame the practice for it. And we want to get ahead of that before it turns into that,
that's just something to say because, every election, I always, arrive at the same place. I'm sitting right here. I've been voting libertarian since, 1980 because the Republic, you're never supposed to talk about religion, sex, politics, violence, and I'm not going there and any of that. I'm just talking about what you just said about the lawyers. The United States of America, it's a two-party binary star from Abraham Lincoln to today. It's the same trajectory to separate that one robbed the bank and one drove the getaway car. There's no difference between this binary star. They're all in the same line, and it's all ran by the 1 million attorneys who charge out $1 trillion a year. And what they did so geniusly, while the physicians were getting in bed with the government with Medicare in 1963, the lawyers took over the entire government. I mean, the Congress, the Senate, the Supreme Court. It's the legal class. And they could stop all this carnage right now and go pass a law that all these businesses will not have any liability issues, but they have to feed their base, and their base is 1 million attorneys, and there's also 1 million MDs, and the 1 million MDs and the 50,000 DOs and the 150,000 general dentists, we've always taken a back seat to the 1 million attorneys. They run the whole country, and they've ran it into the ground. I mean, they have completely, So I really thought that during a pandemic, they'd come together and write off the liability stuff. But no, they can't. I mean, of Congress, what percent of members of Congress
clamp off the artery?
They got to feed their members, and they have been feeding their members at the expense of the American consumer. And I just think it's hilarious when one side thinks their team is better than the other side. I mean, you see a car going off a cliff. Do you really care who's sitting behind the driver wheel? I mean, they're just the same. They're all the same ilk.
I'm sorry I upset you with that.
Do you think they're going to they'll pass blanket legislation to protect liability for?
I think every state's going to approach this differently. This is what we're seeing is that what they should be doing, and a lot of states are going to figure out, is that they have to start protecting these small businesses from litigation and the workman's comp funds. You can't have 3 or 4 workman's comp claims against you in a single year as a small business. Your premium will double the next year. So they're going to have to, and of course, the idea that you can say where somebody caught COVID with half of the transmission being from somebody asymptomatic, how can you say that? But so you've got to protect the business. Somebody's got to step up eventually and protect the business people here.
Well, we had a case, Howard. It was one of our customers that has ordered Clara tell us that one of her staff had COVID, and they managed it. Very diligently, and they found out that it was they traced it back to her husband who worked at a grocery store. So the thought of these legislation, as you mentioned, Howard, passing, I just think you're not going to catch it. Yeah, of course, people could catch it at work, but most likely you're catching it other places and bringing it into work. So I just think that it's almost silly to pass something like that.
Well,
so if you can take the price of PPE from $4 to 1. I mean, is it faster? Is it easier? Is it higher quality? Is it lower cost? If you can take the price of PPE from $4 to 1, this will be a home run.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we do. We save you 3 to 1 on cost. We are more comfortable. We are giving you a clear image of the person talking. I mean, imagine trying to present a case, an $8 or $10 million restorative case with a full mask on. Versus Clara, where you can actually see the dentist's face while they're talking to you.
Yeah, that's a good point, because Benko, just to throw out a little secret also for you, Howard, Benko was launching Clara, and other dealers are, but Benko we're launching with them first, not as an exclusive, but we had lunch or breakfast with Chuck Cohen a couple of days ago, because he's right close to me, where we live in Boston. He's out here for for visiting his family. So we're so excited about them, and they're really committed to this, or they're putting some, really great attention to all the things that we're talking about with this product, not just COVID, but long-term sustainability and the cost savings that Fred, you're talking about. So we're excited about working with people that want to take it to this level. And again, seeing it past COVID. And
Chuck Cohen, I want to remind you that to this day, he's the only person, when I've been reading the Harvard Business Review, to run across his article. I mean, it was like, I was like, it didn't even surprise me. I always said Chuck and Rick, I mean, they're the two smartest boys on the block in dentistry. My God, they are so smart. And I love the way they think, because when they when something comes up and they're not sure, and it's made anywhere around the world, they jump on an airplane, especially Rick. I bet Rick has flown more miles than me and Fred combined, and we've lived in airplanes. We've lived our whole life in airplanes. The Cohen brothers are unbelievable. So I want you to go back to something else. There he is.
Yeah, that was Chuck, because it was the first time. They already want to go forward, but it was so special for me to hand deliver it a couple days ago, and he just was like, "This is amazing!" So it was fun to get a photo of it.
And when you talk about my job is to try to estimate what my homies are thinking while they're listening to this. And
absolutely.
So go over CO2 contamination. Because they think of the PPE to block out this coronavirus as severe respiratory virus, and now you're throwing out molecules or CO2. So talk about CO2 contamination, and why do you think any of the dentists listening to this right now thinks about CO2 contamination?
There's years of research on N95s and CO2 buildup within the mask and the effects of it. And now what we're actually seeing that anecdotally in aggregate, the response from team members who are just going, I'm exhausted at the end of the day. And I feel like I've been working in a coal mine. I'm so exhausted, or I've had this headache behind my eye the whole day. And I haven't yet talked to a clinician, and I'm talking to a lot of people now, a lot of dentist friends of mine about Clara. Every one of them is saying wearing this mask is changing my day. All I think about is this mask the entire time it's on. And at the end of the day, I am impaired, right? And it's because the mask does not exhaust. You're forced to breathe your own CO2 over and over again. It's almost like you're treating an anxiety attack for 8 hours straight.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And so what we know, and we're going to be testing with CO2 sensors inside our mask, is that our mask clears out with every single breath. There is no CO2 buildup. I've worn this thing for 10 hours straight. I've worn it from flying from Raleigh all the way to LA with a layover in Charlotte. Never took it off except to eat or drink. Never worried about it. Cherie took a video of me sleeping for 3.5 hours.
I'm trying to find it to show Howard.
I just fell right asleep on the plane wearing it. You stop thinking that you have it on. Look, there's Fred dozing with the mask. What happens is our bodies the clinicians power through their day the hormones take over, the adrenaline takes over, because that CO2 concentration, it creates a vasovagal response.
Right. Yeah.
That is fight or flight. So what the body's got chemicals to get through that. So they get through their day not going, I can't breathe, so much as I feel exhausted, because their body's in high gear. Their heart rate's running like a hummingbird. And that's not sustainable.
And adding to that, one thing, Fred and Howard, what's interesting, one of our, Dr. Isaac Towell, one of my dear friends, and Dr. Scott Gans, and they're telling us these stories about when their staff is a little bit irritable or hot or have headaches, or they're kind of foggy, and they're just acting differently. And it's really interesting to hear the feedback over the last 4 months now of what's currently out there and what's coming with Clara. So to answer your question, Howard, to add what Fred's saying, there are already a lot of studies with those N95s. We want to make it better. We feel our patent pending respirator will have that cross ventilation, and then you can really breathe. And adding what Fred said lastly about it is, I also flew recently after I was Arizona. I was out there with Fred, with Sam, and I flew home, and it was the first time I'd worn it for 5 hours straight. And it was really interesting because I got in the plane, I got settled in, and it was the first time that I was taking deep breaths. I think we get really used to wearing those masks, and we kind of hold back a little bit and taking that really deep breath. So it was the first time that I felt, wow, that's it. Meaning I felt really protected, but I also could breathe so much better. And I thought, it's a very different experience than what you have regularly with the N95s or the level 3s.
I want to go into your psychographics, you and Fred. Are you guys worried personally of catching COVID-19, or do you fear it? Do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Go ahead, Brendan. You can start.
Yeah, I have flown a lot because of promoting this, but I feel completely safe with the mask. I also wear protective eyewear, but I wear a mask everywhere. In my neighborhood, there isn't a lot of people going, the masks are stupid, right? They're you don't have a right to tell me. They protect themselves and they protect each other. And the supermarkets, you have to wear them and stuff like that. So I believe I could catch it, but I don't think you can really catch it much outdoors. And as long as you've got some distance on you. But I've had 4 COVID tests, antigen tests, and 2 antibody tests, all negative. I keep hoping that I had it and beat it. I want to pass the antibody test. Yeah. But
okay, so the audience, just for the audience, you live in Los Angeles.
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you actually live, Fred? Where in Los Angeles? In
an area called Playa Vista.
Okay, Playa Vista.
It's near Marina Del Rey. It's a little.
But do you? But back just to you. If you did catch it, do you think? Are you worried, or do you just think it'd be like a flu?
No. I don't want to catch it because I know I'll kill it, because I got a healthy immune system and a strong body and a strong will, and I eat really well and I take care of myself. But I believe that there are weird side effect, after effects of this particular virus that I'm not interested in. Yeah. So I don't want to get it and get over it. I don't want to be part of the herd immunity process if I can help it. I'll let the herd immune themselves. Let the college kids do the herd immunity, and I'll tag along behind not getting it. Because I the nerve damage and stuff like that, and then lung damage, not interested.
Yeah. And adding to that, I almost feel like saying ditto, because it's very similar to what I feel. I have 3 children. My husband and I, we wear our masks, we wash our hands, we do the right hygiene things. I'm not really, I'm healthy like Fred. I'm not really concerned about getting it because, I take the right precautions. But I do worry about, you just letting your guard down sometimes, Howard. When like Fred and I were traveling together, we're driving all over, say, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and we were shopping in rest stops. And I remember there was a couple times where I went to go grab the door to open up to say, go into a Starbucks. And I was like, oh, and I pushed it open because I just think it's easy to kind of forget about those things. So I don't want to catch it either. Am I really concerned about catching it? Personally not. I'm worried a little about my kids who to go to college right now. But other than that, I think if we take the right precautions, we should be okay. That's my personal opinion.
So where do you think the dental market is right now? I mean, we have a great economist, Vucic at the ADA, who's saying we're about to 71% back. Where do you think we're at right now, and what advice would you have for dental offices?
Well, I mean, some of that, big numbers are often a big lie, right? 70% back. I know dentists that are back 100, 110% of revenue. And I know dentists that are thinking of walking, right? Because they are at 40, 50% of revenue and they don't know what to do about it. And there's a lot of dentists looking at what they're calling the big dip, which is the hygiene scheduling is dropping off in September and October. I'm not seeing that with every practice. I'm seeing it as the great migration. I'm seeing it as patients moving from practices that they don't feel safe going to, moving to a practice that they do feel safe going to. There's the dentists I'm talking to, they're saying, I am getting new patient calls every day, and the majority of them are record transfers. Okay, they are not, I don't have a dentist. I ran 800 dentists forever. I know that most of the calls are people, I don't have a dentist, I need to find a dentist. These are people changing dentists. So I think that the strategy for dentists going forward is you better create a safe place for your team to work and a safe place for your patients to come. And you need to inform them of what you're doing, the protocols that you're using to protect them, that you're going above and beyond even what the regulatory bodies are telling them to do, so that they're protected. And you'll have a thriving practice, because this is a great opportunity, Howard. This is our chance to educate people that oral health and overall health are connected, right? We know it. We've been trying to get people to believe it. But now all we've got against COVID is our immune system. And dentistry is integral to that. If we can drive that message out practice by practice to our patient bases, dentistry will thrive and will help people be healthier. So anyway,
Fred, when you have people that are back to 110, 120%, I know Rick Kirshner at Comfort Dental, they're higher than they were when they started. What variables do you see? I mean, what is associated with this? I'm back to where I was versus I want to walk. What are you seeing any variables? Is it regional? Is it the age of the patients? Do you see any connection correlating between those two variables?
You know what? I'm having trouble finding a correlation, because the areas that I'm looking at are so different. It'll be a fairly, almost a rural Pennsylvania town, and versus, a high-end California neighborhood like Sonoma. That there's enough people who have said, I got to get to the dentist. Right. And also, I think there's a shift in spending. People are rethinking how they spend money.
Oh yeah,
because they can't travel, right? The average family spends $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on vacations a year. They're going, what would be a better investment? And if we tell them, or they go I put off veneers, or I put off these implants, I might as well do them now. I can't do anything else. I'm sitting at home anyway. Yeah. I think it's all over. I think if you're offering the right services, I have dentists to say they're doing a staggering amount of Invisalign right now, because people are going, what the hell? Might as well straighten my teeth. I'm not in public anyway. Can't go to a restaurant.
I will add to that about, the kind of the feel out there. When I'm talking to some of these clinicians, these offices, there's that fear, of course, that yes, they're busier. As Fred, you're saying, some are still, rethinking, I'm not back and maybe I'll sell or retire. But there's that constant, even if you are busy, there's that little back on your shoulder, like, what if, am I going to be shut down? Am I going to have to lay off my staff? I think the mental state of these clinicians that have had to lay off their staffs, like the Stanleys, or not lay them off, but, obviously either, continue to pay them or furlough them, that's emotionally draining. So I think that we have to remember that about our clinicians, that they've gone through things here. They were out of work for months and months, and now we're going into this fall. And what if they shut down again? And what if they dip in their services? So I think that there's a lot of that very awkward feeling of that ambiguity of how to plan. I think that we're in a really weird space, Howard, where we're just not sure. So I think the one thing I'm really enjoying is seeing a lot of the collaboration, these Zoom calls, and checking in on. I know the Stanleys are right now at the Koi Center in Seattle. I like hearing that people are getting out there and seeing their peeps, because we have to do that and go forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when I was podcasting the president of the ADA, they've shifted because their biggest crisis now is suicide.
Yeah.
And there's a threat on Dental Town. It's a mile long. I mean, and some of the people that are doing it are just like, you never would have guessed. Married, kids, everything fine. And
yes.
It was just the last straw. Or do you, but again, if this is a business thing, if you truly spend $1, $500,000 on masks for 100 offices, and you save $1.5 million, then all the DSOs are going to do it. The DSOs are better business operators. Mm-hmm. Do you have you guys noticed any DSOs in trouble or not back to 100%? How are the DSOs doing?
I mean, there's so many of them that
I mean the big ones, the name brands.
I think Steve Thorne at Pacific, he's a very smart businessman, and he was on top of this very quickly, and he created protocols for his teams very quickly to protect them and to protect the EBITDA of the businesses. He's a smart numbers guy too, and he knows that it's about preserving your profits at this point, but also I think that they were smart enough in terms of furloughing people, laying people off, getting the PPP money for their businesses, that they're going to power their way through it, because they're running the numbers that tell them where they have to focus, while at the same time doing their darndest to take care of.
Fred, talk macro to me. I mean, again, we both agree it's a horrific term to say the United States of America, because you can't manage. It's kind of like running your business. I mean, the accountants give you 3 statements. They give you a P&L, statement of income, but that's designed for a third-party tax collector unless you're publicly traded, the SEC. They give you a balance sheet, your asset balances with your liabilities, equities, but that's only if you're getting capital or divorce or whatever. But you need a statement of cash flow to manage your office. And U.S. numbers aren't really apply to running an office. I mean, you wouldn't mix Germany with Greece and all that stuff like that. But there's really kind of, we've talked about this for 30 years. There's kind of 2 Americas. Half of America buys on price, half by value added. I mean, there's so many people that are only going to go to the dentist because they got their business subsidized it, the government subsidized it. And we know we've lost 40 million jobs since the pandemic, and 30 million of them had dental insurance. And I talked to the insurance CEOs, and I mean, 30 million Americans lost a permanent job with dental insurance. To say that this is not going to wash ashore to 150,000 dental offices is insane. How do you see, I mean, we got a pandemic, we have an economic a huge economic problem. I mean, I never thought in my life I would see the United States contract like that. But what would you be telling dentists who are very rational people? I mean, most dentists don't have enough personality to become an accountant, and they're looking at the numbers and they're like, man, 30 million people lost their dental benefits. The economy's contracted. Whether it's Australia, Canada, UK, it's the largest contraction since the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. What would you be telling those guys right now to do? And I'm asking you because you've been zigzagging across the country for 30 years. I mean, you see this economy at 30,000 feet. What would you be telling them?
I would be saying it's not about how much your gross revenue it is. What's your profit? What procedures are you doing that are profitable enough? And how are you making sure that you have that cash flow? They've been in a bull market of dentistry for 10 years, right? And it's covered a host of mistakes that they've been able to make in their practice. You can't do it anymore. You have to be pragmatic about what you're earning. It's not the P&L. It's deeper in the P&L. Like what are we doing per hour, and what's it costing me to do it per hour? And am I profitable? Because you will need a reserve of cash, because anything could happen. I mean, as you say, they were talking about if this thing lasted 2 months, the economic impact would take 18 months to recover from. Mm-hmm. We're 6 months in.
Right.
Okay.
Saying 8, 9 years.
So who knows? But
no,
as long as you operate as an essential service, as long as you function that way, and we've got to get diligent about making sure that dentistry is valued for how valuable it is.
Mm-hmm. And I'd add to that. I think. I talked to some of my dear friends that are dentists and hygienists and assistants, and I say, it's kind of similar, to simplify it in a way, how I talk to my kids, like focus on the things that you can focus on and improve on. And if you don't, you'll be in this big vortex tunnel and give up. Right. So I think the two things I would focus on are the patients that you have that are coming in that door, and how you're treating them, and how you are thinking about them even outside of the office. What are they dealing with? How are they, when they leave your office, how are they feeling at home? What are they going through? And really talking to them and listening to what they're dealing with, and showing that, and having that empathy. The other thing, Howard and Fred, I would say is, your base, like who are your people? Who are your referrals? How are they doing? And so, if it's your implant coordinator or your hygienist that deals with that, or what have you, I think it's important that we all have each other's back. And so if I had an office or of 2 or 3 offices or what have you, I would kind of spread my wings a bit and grab them all in, and know that, and show them that they are my people, and we are going to get through this. I mean, I know it sounds like cliche, we're all in this together, but if I was a clinician working every day, I would be looking at my patients at home, and I would looking at my referrals and seeing what I can do to service them.
Yeah, I mean, if you go onto Dental Town and just type in mask, I mean, my God, it's patient mask issues. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's every thread. Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing how big this issue is. Mm-hmm. Any other advice besides? Is there anything you wanted to say about the mask? I mean, I can't believe we already went over an hour.
I know, it's so amazing.
We've been talking for an hour.
I will just add one thing. It's over here. Deborah Carrier, that I think she's been on with you, Twice as Nice Uniforms. We are putting a lot of thought into this adoption. So, we know with Clara, this is, a radical change in breathing. So the donning and doffing, and how to use Clara, how do you clean it and store it. So we're putting a lot of thought into that. When you open up like an Apple box, what goes into that? So we really want to, implement this product and have it adopted and accepted is really the most important thing. Inventing is easy, to be quite frank. It's really about gaining traction and getting that belief in your product that you are the real deal. You are trying to change behaviors. So just to tie off on that, this respirator or mask, Clara, is going to have all the types of donning and doffing, all the videos of education. We have some great respiratory experts and infection control experts like Michelle Strange that are working with us on this success. So I look forward to people coming to our site and really learning about, we're trying to have an impact. Wouldn't you agree, Fred?
Yes. I mean, that's really, we're trying to solve respiration on a long-term basis, and team safety, practitioner safety, and patient safety. and we're going to dedicate ourselves to that. We're, you know, and this conversation, we had this conversation with Spear, and it was exactly this. We said, you know, why wouldn't you want to be, you know, don't you want to be at the forefront of respiratory health for this industry? And Kaleem said, yeah, why wouldn't we be?
Right.
Let's do it.
Where did the name Clara come from?
Great question, Howard. So our engineer and designer, she, not Lisa, who invented this product, but we have a separate industrial and designer. We presented some names to us, and in Latin, Clara in Latin means bright. So we wanted to, it was really during the early days of COVID where everyone wasn't bright. You know, we weren't feeling bright. And so we felt Alexa, Cherie, now along came Clara. So it kind of stuck with us. So we wanted clear breathing. Yeah, clear breathing.
Clear air. Clarity of the mask that you can see the person's face. I mean, we're trying to solve this problem in a real way. There's plenty of people making plenty of mask solutions that are never going to give you an airtight fit, that are going to be hot. They're going to fog up. You know, dentists are telling me they're wearing N95s and their loops are fogging. Right? It's like they say, like, well, how do I either got to give up magnification or the N95? What do I do? They try Clara on and they go like, and one dentist was like, nothing else mattered except he could use his loops again.
Right. That was funny.
So we're covering so many different solutions in one that we can't wait to get it out there and get it into practices, because we think it's just going to make an enormous sea change in how practices function going forward.
And we'd like to get you one, Howard, of course, complimentary. We'd love to send you one to try and, you know, get your feedback on it. Of course, that's so important to us. So we'd love to send you one. And
what I do is I would send an email to I show it to the whole team. In fact, I'm going to do that as soon as I'm done, to see which staff member is the most troubled by the mask.
That'd be great.
I love the Latin name Clara. That's great. The meaning in Latin, clear, Clara, clear, bright, famous. I almost called Dental Town Docere, because Latin docere is the Latin word for doctor, just like Bible is just a Latin word for book. You know, when someone says they read the Bible, that's just Latin book.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, since there's 3 sizes sitting here, small, medium, and large, how many sizes do you have on the mask?
Sure. So we have 4. So we have extra small. Dr. Yusan Kim and other clinicians helped us realize we need an extra small, medium, and large.
Right on.
One other thing, Howard, it's really I forgot to tell you this, that, you know, the sizing, the fit, and the get that fit testing, passing that was really critical for us, especially in hospitals and dental offices. So Bellis, I'll give you a little scoop. We are partnering with Bellis on they're creating one of the apps. So when the clinicians purchase Clara, they can go and they can take their facial measurements, and then we can say, okay, Fred, you're medium, and Cherie, you're small or medium. So it immediately tells you your size. So if you're small or medium or large. So Bellis, we'll be making that partnership announcement quite soon, but you can have a little scoop right now.
Yeah, and for the listeners who don't know what Bellis is, they do 3D measurements of your face, and it's done with an iPhone 11, the 3D camera in the iPhone 11. So it gives, and they've scanned 200,000 facial images already. So we're working with a base that allows us to fit.
Are you talking about Bellis Health out of Canada? BellisHealth.com, trading on NASDAQ?
Yeah, no, BELLUS 3D. They're out of Silicon Valley, and they came on the scene like early March in dental. They did a deal with like Philips Respironics, but I'm sure you've seen them online, Howard, where the clinician will take a facial scan and then they'll send it in and they'll get one of those. They'll have a mask on, and they'll have a little frame that goes over that mask to make sure that mask is fitted. So that's how they became really pop. They're Apple found people that work from Apple founded the company, and so we heard about them through just seeing them kind of become popular during COVID. And I have to tell you, honestly, they were inundated with mask companies. And my husband, we were on these calls with them, and they really were like, we've been talking to mask companies. We're not doing a deal, meeting with other companies. And they looked at Clara. Fred, you were on this call, and they said, when do you want to do a deal? And so we're really proud of that. We haven't announced it yet, but we're about to.
Because they're already with the Dental Pro, right? That's their product. The Bellis 3D Dental Pro provides a powerful and easy to use 3D face scanning solution.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly.
Very nice. Once again, kids, it's not what you know, it's who you know. This is the power of networking. One of the things you young kids have to realize is that you wouldn't have got A's in math, calculus, physics, geometry, trig. I mean, you wouldn't have got A's and all that stuff if you were out there hanging out with all the business students, drinking until 3 a.m. When you end up being a dentist, physician, you're usually an introvert. You're usually shy, and that's all great. But the power of networking, and I'll tell you that, it just drives me crazy. Every time I go visit a dentist, they're in a medical dental building. There's 8 dentists in there. They've never gone to dinner or to the other person's house one time in their life, and because they see him as competition. And Fred and I can tell you a million times, and it's the vacations, it's the RVs, it's I can't fly. I'm gonna right now the real estate north of Phoenix is just exploding. I mean, prices, I've seen the prices go up in Flagstaff 40% since the pandemic, because people are like, well, we're no longer going to go on vacation to all these places. Let's just get a cabin up north, the RV place up there. I mean, it's going crazy. So people there's going to be a new America. And as far as working from home, that was the trend that was going for a long time. And I think all the pandemic did is just shoved it up the mountain. Nobody, I mean, 2 out of 3 people that are working from home right now don't want to go back to the office. So then where's all the restaurants that you'd eat out at lunch? Where's, all that money? And the savings rate's going up because they're not eating out. They're not flying around. They're not doing all these things. In fact, I'm almost to the point now where I'm considering learning how to camp. And of course, I would buy an RV because I'm not dumb. I know that everybody who says they love camping always takes a miniature house with them that has every single feature their house has. But there's money to be made, and stay tough, and just remember one thing. If you're getting down, reach out for help, and this is just the time to be your best. And, during a pandemic is not the time to not give it at all. I mean, you remember how you studied so differently the night before an exam versus that same night a week before the exam. I mean, it's exam night, and it's exam night every day, and you need to be at 100% now, because like Fred said, this is a highly regulated market. It takes 8 years of college to get a dental license. There's almost no competition. You open up 100 restaurants, 60% of them be bankrupt the first year. Dentists, my God, you could be a functional alcoholic eating Vicodin and still make it for 40 years. It's not competitive. But this is the time you need to be at your best. And so see everything they've done from networking with their colleagues, their peers, they know everybody. So I want you to reach out and go to lunch with the dentist across the street with you. You always you'll say, oh, I know these 3 dentists. Yeah, well, they're specialists and they're making money off you, and they're being nice to you because they make money off you. The dentist across the hall from you isn't making money off you. In fact, he might be losing money off you. So if he's your friend, he might really be your friend. So, go out there and give it your best. Thanks for always, you guys, for being so high energy. The middle of a pandemic, you could be home crying too. You could be doing all that stuff. But, man, you never slow down. You step up to the game. You suck it up, Buttercup. And it was thanks so much, Cherie, for giving me this exclusive information on so many things. And best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
really
Howard.
nice to see you. Okay.
And I'll see you on the other side of the pandemic.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir. All right.
All right.
All right, take care.
Guys. Bye.